Well, welcome to RU 703. Good to have you all here tonight. We're here to help each other find, maintain, and grow our walk with the Lord. And the more I think about it, the more a lot of messages, chapel messages, Wednesday night messages, Sunday morning, Sunday night. Pastor's been talking about a lot of the same stuff over and over again, talking about our weakness. When we get our strength up, we can't do anything. We've got to find a way to get rid of our strength so that God can put His strength in us, and that's how things get done. And that's what the journey is: learning how to make ourselves small, to crucify ourselves. I die daily. The name of our book, all this other stuff, and let God do the work. Because when we start trying to do things, when we start trying to fix ourselves, when we start trying to quit drinking, quit smoking, quit whatever, or when we try to start doing this and this and this, you know, we're just going to fail because we can't win that battle. That's what we talk about in, I'm going to use principle number 4 later on here in just a minute. We cannot fight a fleshly appetite by indulging in it. It's not our fight to fight. And so what RU is doing is, it's a discipleship program, and the purpose of it is to teach us a walk with the Lord, what that actually means. Not to define it in knowledge terms, but to define it on how do you take the steps. Literally, what do you do? How does this work? What do I do tomorrow? What do I do today? How do I handle the next thing that comes up? And that's what RU is all about, to help us, because, you know, we can get all the knowledge, we can have all the learning, we can memorize all this stuff, but when we're faced with doing, that's where I don't bet you, that's where I fail. I know a lot of stuff, I just don't do a lot of stuff. And that's the disconnect. That's where I fail. And that's what RU will do, is it'll help you. Pastor said the other day, somebody said, the Christian life is not complicated. I say this all the time too, but it's hard. It's not easy. It's not complicated, but it's definitely not easy. And so, you know, we need to know what to do, how to do it. And God is so cool because He gives us the plan, He gives us the outline, He gives us the instruction, He teaches us how, He supplies us with the tools, He gives us all the stuff we need, and He says, all right, now you go do it. But that's the thing right there, is we've got to go do. He gives us the stuff, but we have to put it to work. And that's what I like about RU so much, is it equips us, and it encourages us to go out and just to do. And then it'll break it down and say, well, how'd that go? Didn't go so well for you? Well, why not? Let's figure it out. Let's figure out how we can do. And just over and over again to get us to be able to walk the walk. And it doesn't expect you to change overnight, but that's how life is. We go a little bit, we go a little bit more. You've heard it before. You hit 2 steps forward and 1 back, and that's frustrating to us. But if you're taking 2 steps forward and 1 back, you still went forward. You still went forward, and God is not interested in the speed at which we go. I really don't think He really cares that much if we go fast or if we go slow. He just wants us to go. The problem we have is we just sit and look. We just kind of rest. You know, say, all right, God, do something. He says, no, I showed you how, you do it. And that's what RU wants to do. That's what we try to do. And it works if you'll let it. Okay, one of the tools we have is our 10 principles. It will help us through this journey. It'll help us to make right decisions, because if we make the right decisions, things are much more liable to go right. Make wrong decisions, probably not quite so right. Okay, and so we have to learn to make right decisions, and we have to practice it. We have to try it. And you know what? We'll make a good decision. We'll mess up. Okay, that's the step back. Make some more good decisions. Just keep coming back at it. And so the 10 principles is one of those things that will help us to do that. We're not going to get it every time, but let's get it sometime, and just work on it. If we get it right once, pretty soon we'll get it right twice. And pretty soon we'll get it right 3 times, and we just keep going forward. If it's a little bit of time, hey, that's better. Here's a question to ask yourself: has your Christian walk, your relationship with the Lord, is it any better today than it was last year at this time? That's what's important. It's not where are you, it's are you better than you were last month, last year? Are you? Because if you are, that's good, that's a win. We're going somewhere. Don't get all down on yourself. You're going. Now, that doesn't mean it's okay to fail. That's never okay, but it's not like the end of the world. Let's just keep going. Okay, just keep going. We got to be willing to step back sometimes and say, I'm not happy with where I'm at, but boy, preacher says all the time, I'm not where I want to be, but I'm not where I was. So let's just keep on going on this thing. Be like Dory. That could be our new mascot in here. Just keep on swimming. Just keep on swimming. Sometimes that current will push you backwards, but you just keep on swimming. I do. Dory the fish, yes. The fish Dory. Am I right? Is that what's that movie? I don't even know what it is. Finding Nemo, yes, because I never found Nemo, but I remember Dory. I never quite understood what was going on because I'm not real smart. But. All right, so our 10 principles. Let's just go over those real quick. Number 1, if God's against it, so am I. Number 2, every sin has its origin in our heart. Number 3, it's easier to keep the heart clean than to clean it after it's been defiled. Number 4, we cannot fight a fleshly appetite by indulging in it. Number 5, small compromises lead to great disasters. Number 6, those who do not love the Lord will not help you serve the Lord. Number 7, our sinful habits do hurt those who follow us. Number 8, it's not possible to fight a fleshly temptation with the fleshly weapon. Number 9, we lose our freedom to choose when we give in to temptation. Our consequences are inevitable, incalculable, and up to God. Number 10, God balances guilt with blame. Accept the blame for your actions, and God will remove the guilt. Just came across my mind there while I was doing that. If any of you would like to have, we used to have these little, come on down, get right here, little 10 principle cards with the 10 principles of Psalms 1 on it. We don't have these anymore, but we have the Are You track, and I got a bunch of them up there. It's got the 10 principles. It's got the fruit of the Spirit. It's got Psalms 1. It's got a little explanation about Are You. It's got the gospel on it, times of service and stuff. So if you'd ever like to have some of those, I try to keep them out there in a track rack. I just don't do a very good job of making sure it gets done. But I've got a bunch of them. So if anybody wants them, just ask me. You can carry them around, keep them, look at them, hand them out, whatever you want. All right? Next is Psalms 1. And Psalms 1 is where a bunch of this came from. All of the Bible is good. All of the Bible is good. But yeah, it's going to help you because God talks about this a lot. We're supposed to study the Bible, memorize the Bible, read the Bible, but we're supposed to meditate on the Bible. That's where God speaks to us and it literally talks to us. His Spirit speaks to our spirit when we meditate. And so we need to have something to meditate on. Anywhere in the Bible is good. But Psalms 1 for RU is kind of where a lot of our stuff comes from. And it's easy to do. Just so you memorize the verse, and then throughout the day, just think about it. What does it mean? Think about it. Define the words in your head. Break it up. Put it back together. Ask God, just in your mind, just what do you mean by this word? What do you mean by this word? Think about it, and God will open things up to you because that's how He speaks to us. Meditate on it. So that's why we go over Psalms 1 all the time, because there's so much in it. What to do, what not to do, how to do it, how not to do it, what happens when we do, what happens when we don't. Just all the different things, okay? Turn that off. Good boy. Okay, turn over. There we go. So, Psalms 1. Blessed is the man that walketh not in the counsel of the ungodly, nor standeth in the way of sinners, nor sitteth in the seat of the scornful. But his delight is in the law of the Lord, and in his law doth he meditate day and night. And he shall be like a tree planted by the rivers of water, that bringeth forth his fruit in his season. His leaf also shall not wither, and whatsoever he doeth shall prosper. The ungodly are not so, but are like the chaff which the wind driveth away. Therefore the ungodly shall not stand in the judgment, nor sinners in the congregation of the righteous. For the Lord knoweth the way of the righteous, but the way of the ungodly shall perish. Okay, so if I can get back here, I'm going to do principle number, I think it's number 4. Yep, there we go, number 4 today. What? Number 11, yes, principle number 11, that comes out of Proverbs 32, yes? And it's just before the book of Hezekiah. Okay, number 4 says, you'll get that after a little while, maybe. We cannot fight a fleshly appetite by indulging in it. We cannot fight a fleshly appetite by indulging in it. Hopefully you understand what an appetite is. An appetite usually comes from our body. Okay, it's something that our body craves, a lust, something that it wants. Not necessarily our will, desire, although it can be. But it's an appetite. Now there's different kinds of appetites. Some appetites we need to feed. We need to eat. That's an appetite. We need to eat. It's like that's how we stay alive. We need to sleep. We have an appetite to sleep. Hopefully you have an appetite to read the Word of God. That's a good appetite. Feed those. Now, some of them, like eating, we need to feed with restraint. Okay, because too much is not bad. It's not good. Too little is not good. Some appetites we can just feed as much as we want. Trying to have more relationship with the Lord. Some appetites we should not feed at all. Zero. Messing with lust or drugs or alcohol, because we feed it just a tiny bit and it just grows incredibly rapidly and it gets out of control quickly and it will control us. So these appetites are there. They live within us. We have flesh. And we're never going to fight them, beat them, restrain them by indulging in it, by doing them, okay? I think I'm not going to read all this right here. I'm just going to talk to you about it. It's Joshua 23, 11 through 16. And he's talking to the nation of Israel here. And what he's telling them, I'll read some other scripture here in just a minute. But Josh is pointing out to the children of Israel that as long as they follow God and walk in a path that he's laid out for them, they will be under his protection. And God will fight their battles for them. And he's saying when you don't, when you walk out from underneath my protection, you stop doing what I ask you to do, the battles are still there. The Amorites, the Moabites, the Philistines, all those guys are still there. They're still going to attack you. But when you're not with me, you're going to fight them on your own. And it's not going to go well, and it didn't. Okay, because they would get away from God, and the guys would just come in and whoop them. And they'd have to go get back with God, and then God would take care of the bites for them, and the Steens and all those other guys, and would beat them, and everything would be fine because they let God do it. They'd walk away from God, and they'd all come back, fight them themselves, and they'd lose. And that's what this is talking about. God is telling us when we face battles, fleshly appetites, the only way we're going to have victory is to allow him to fight. We've got to get out of this fight. We're supposed to do what he tells us to do, but we're not the ones fighting. He is. It's his instruction, his way, what he wants, his tools. We take them and we do the work, but the fight is from him because he will never lose. There's nothing that can beat God. Nothing can overcome him. And if we will allow him to fight, we will always be victorious. When we start fighting, we're always going to lose, okay? So we can't take the fight over. Think about faith. As we walk with him, as we have faith in God, strong confidence in God, as we have faith in him, we're walking with him. We're holding his hand. We're trusting him. We're trusting him to guide us, to direct us. We're following his lead. And when we acknowledge him in all our ways, Proverbs 3, 5, and 6, when we acknowledge him in all our ways, he will direct our path. He's going to show us where to go. And if we'll follow that path and do as he says, it's going to go through danger, trouble, fire, storm, but he protects us. We're not in that much danger because he's going to fight for us. When we walk out from underneath him, we still walk the same path, but we don't have his protection on us. When we have confidence in him and his leading, when we're under the protection of his umbrella, it may be pouring down rain outside, but if I'm under his umbrella, I don't get wet. Everybody else is getting wet, but I'm not getting wet because I'm under the protection of his umbrella. And that's what we need to do. We need to stay with God under that umbrella of protection. And that's what he wants us to do. He'll take care of the rain. It's there, but we don't have to worry about it because he's doing it for us. But when we lose confidence in him, when we step out on our own, then we set ourselves up for failure. As all good things are come upon you, which the Lord your God promised you, so shall the Lord bring upon you all evil things. Okay? All good things are come upon you, which the Lord promised you. But the Lord is going to bring upon you evil things, but he'll protect you as he sees fit. So we can't fight a fleshly appetite by indulging in it. We can't fight the world by being part of the world. That's another way to look at it. We can't fight the world by being part of the world. A lot of times people say, well, I need to go, I want to witness to these people here, so I need to go look like them, talk like them, act like them, be where they're at, do what they're doing, so they'll listen to me. And they're not going to, because they're going to say, why should I listen to you? You're just like me. That's not who they're going to listen to. okay? So we can't fight the world by being part of it. We can only fight the world by stepping out of the world and getting under the umbrella of the Lord. Ecclesiastes 5:10. He that loveth silver shall not be satisfied with silver, nor he that loveth abundance with increase. That's also vanity. If we're going after the things of the world, we're not going after the things of the Lord. We're not where we need to be. We're never going to be satisfied. We're never going to get what we want. Ecclesiastes 5, James 1:14 and 15. That every man is tempted when he's drawn away of his own lust and enticed. Then when lust has conceived, it bringeth forth sin, and sin, when it's finished, bringeth forth death. There was a way which seemeth right unto man, but the end thereof is the ways of death. And which is, temptation is not wrong. Temptation is not sin. Jesus was tempted in all ways like us. God led him into a place of temptation. The devil came down and just said, hey, just tempted him with all these things. And being tempted is not sin. Giving into the temptation is sin. Acting on the temptation, that's where sin comes. So we've got to learn to fight the temptation. We've got to learn to go through the temptation and not give into it. That's what we have to do. Illustration here is I'm overweight and I want to lose a few pounds. So the best way to handle it, in my mind, is every time I get hungry to eat a little bit so I won't be hungry, just like snack all day long. So I get hungry and I just grab my bag of chips and I eat some because that just kind of knocks the edge off that. And so I go a little while later and I get hungry, so I eat a candy bar, and I go a little while longer, I get hungry, so I eat some donuts, and I do that all day long. I didn't eat it very much. I just ate a little bit. That's not going to work. That's not going to work. Y'all get that, right? That just will not work. Now, the best way to lose weight is to eat a little bit healthy at different intervals throughout the day so it knocks down your appetite. That does work. But we can't snack all the time. That's not going to work. I'm not going to indulge in the world. Okay, that's not the healthy stuff that I should eat a little bit of throughout the day is not the stuff I desire. I don't know why, it just never is. You know, that's what you're supposed to eat. Yeah, but it tastes like cardboard, but that's what's good for you. You know, there's some correlation there. I'm not quite sure what it is. It seems like the good stuff is always just like bad for you, and the stuff that's good for you just is nasty. It's not always true. But by and large, it seems to be that way. And that's what we do. That's not going to ever work. Okay? So that's not going to work, so I'm going to try something different. Okay? And I tried this for years, and obviously it didn't work well. Okay? So my thought is, I can't lose weight by eating, so here's what I'm going to do. I'll stop eating, except for maybe once a day. And it's easy for me to do. I get carried away and stuff, and I don't think about it. I don't eat breakfast. I don't eat lunch. I go home at night, and now I'm hungry. Okay, and my wife makes some dinner, and it's really good. So I take she gives me a portion, a serving, and it's how much I should have. And it tastes really good, and I eat it. Now, my stomach might say, I'm pretty happy, but my eyes and my mouth are not happy. They're just like, let's just have a little bit more. And a little bit more is like 3 times as much. Okay, and then after a little while, I realized I just ate a whole lot more than I should have eaten, probably because I didn't do it properly all day long, and so my hungry and all that. And so, you know, it takes a while after you eat for your stomach to realize it's full. You have to give it some time. But anyway, so I just blow it. And so since I blow it, I'm thinking, well, all right, I might as well have some chips. Okay, and so I eat some chips, and that makes my mouth really dry, so I just need to wash that down with some ice cream. You know, so, you know, a serving of ice cream is one of those little cartons, right? That's one serving, right? That's, yeah. So, you know, this isn't working. It's just not the way it's going to work. Okay, and we can't indulge in that to fight it. It's just not going to work. Okay, because this little bit always leads to more. It's not going to work. You cannot fight a fleshly appetite by indulging in it. If I have a lust problem, okay, I can't fix it by looking at just a little pornography. When I have that urge, I just look at a little bit. That's not going to fix it, because that little bit will lead to more. It just will. Okay, I can't stop drinking by drinking just a little bit. I'm going to knock the edge off. It doesn't work that way. It just doesn't, because it will escalate. The only way to overcome sin is to ask God for his power and his grace. Give it to God. Literally, put it in his hands. Say, God, I can't. When you go to God and say, I can't do this, God. I can't stop this. I don't have the ability. I don't know what to do. I can't handle it. Help me. He will. He will equip you. He will instruct you. He will guide you. He'll direct you. He'll give you the tools you need. And then you got to put them to work. You have to put it. You're the one. See, God isn't the one that's going to say no. Set a drink in front of you. God doesn't say, Matt, don't drink that. Well, he did. He does, but he's not going to take it away from you. You're the one that had, because if it's sitting there, you're the one that has to say, no, no. And as we do that, God will give us the strength to do that. And God will give us the strength to continue to do that. But we have to do it first. Then he gives us more strength. And as we feel it coming on again, we have to ask him for strength. Admit that we don't have, that we're weak, and he'll give us the strength. But we have to do the saying no part. That's what we have to do. And you know, life and all this will attack us. So we're doing this, we're saying no, we still have the urges and the desires, and so but we're handling it, we're doing what God wants, we're saying no, and the devil sees that, so he's going to add on some pressure here. He's going to take your job away, break up a relationship, something, get in a car wreck, major bills, and like pressure comes on you. And so that pressure wants you to indulge in it some more because that's an escape. And God will give us the strength, but we've got to understand that it escalates. As it escalates, God escalates too, and he will give us the strength. But he always takes us right up there to the edge. And it's not more than we can handle as long as we're with him. But we got to stay with him. We've got to do the saying no. He does the fighting. Indulging in it is not ever going to work. That's what we think. Well, I'll just do a little bit. It does not never work. It just will not. We can't do that. The consequences of trying to fight temptation by ourselves can be devastating. Joshua 7, 20 and 21. This is, again, the Israelites went into the promised land, and they beat Jericho. They walked around, they yelled, the walls fell down, they come in. And so the walls have fallen down, and they're going in, and they're getting stuff and doing things like this. And Joshua told them, do not take anything from this city. Don't take any gold, don't take any stuff, don't take any of this stuff. It's not ours. This doesn't belong to us. This is off limits. And so as they were going through the city, fighting or whatever, this guy named Achan, he went into this house, and he looked down there, and there's this clothes that he desired. There was some gold laying there and some other stuff. And he's like, he looked around, and nobody was looking. He thought, well, it's just a little bit. I really want this. Okay, so he took it. And he went and he hid it he went inside of his tent and dug a hole in the middle of the thing, put it under the ground right in the middle of his tent and put some stuff on it. And then so he disobeyed God. Okay? Because the reason he did that is because he wanted it. The temptation came and he didn't fight the temptation. Okay? It says, and Achan answered. So then they go and they fight another battle. The Israelites go in and fight just a little battle. Here's Jericho. Just, blah, here's Jericho. And then they go and fight this little tiny city like this. And they lose. And they run. And they get whooped. And their guys get killed. And Joshua's like, whoa, what is going on here? People are going to hear about this. They're going to see this. And we're going to be beat. And we're going to lose our confidence. Everybody's going to come in and kill us. And he goes to God and says, what's wrong? What happened here? And God says, among other things, there's sin in the camp. Somebody sinned. So he goes through this whole process of eliminating everybody by doing lots of this. Comes down to this one family, this one guy, and he goes to him and says, Achan, what's happening, dude? And Achan's like, oh, I blew it. I stole some stuff. I hid it. I shouldn't have. It's there. I did it. So he has him go and get it, and he brings it out here, and then God kills Achan, kills his family, kills all the people connected with him just because he disobeyed, and he had to be punished. There had to be a consequence for his action. And the consequences that they lost battle, they lost people. So here's Joshua having a conversation with Achan. And Achan answered Joshua and says, indeed, I've sinned against the Lord God of Israel, and thus have I done. He told him what it was. And when I saw the spoils, among the spoils, a goodly Babylonish garment, 200 shekels of silver and a wedge of gold, 50 shekels in weight. I coveted them. I lusted. I desired them. And I took them, and behold, they're hidden in the earth in the midst of my tent. So he desired it. You know what? I bet you there was a lot of Israelites, a couple million of them. Big city. They went in there. They were beaten, fighting, do all this stuff. He wasn't the only one that saw this stuff. It was everywhere. This was a rich city. It was everywhere. Nobody else gave into the temptation, though. He did. And the consequences of his individual action killed a bunch of Israelites. Killed his family, could have had worse devastating consequences, but he owned up to it. Okay, but there was consequences for those actions. We can't do this stuff. How about this one, 2 Samuel 11:1, and I'll get out of this thing. This is David, okay, after he became king. He's been king for a while. He's out fighting these people. Things are going well for him. He's got his mighty men. Everything's going good. And at 11:1 it says, and it came to pass, after the year was expired, at the time when kings go forth to battle, that David sent Joab and his servants with him and all Israel, and they destroyed the children of Ammon and besieged Rabbah. But David tarried still at Jerusalem. And it came to pass at an evening time that David arose. They went to war. When kings go to battle, he did not go. Okay, he stayed home. That was wrong. It came to pass at an evening time David rose from off his bed and walked on the roof of the king's house. And from the roof he saw a woman washing herself, and the woman was very beautiful to look upon. And David sent and inquired after the woman, and one said, is it not Bathsheba, the daughter of Eliam, the wife of Uriah the Hittite? And David sent messengers and took her, and she came into him, and he lay with her, for she was purified from uncleanness. She returned into her home. So she got pregnant. David ends up killing Uriah, which was one of his mighty men, one of his best friend. He murders him. And the consequences go on for a long time. Son kills a son. When a daughter is raped by one of his sons, Israel, all these people are killed. Lots of consequences for that action. But watch this. Here's the thing. It came to pass in eventide. Now, number one, I just is my thought. It's not in the Bible, but this is what I think. I think, why did David stay home? I mean, he was a warrior. That's what he did. He loved to fight. He was awesome. That is something he was people that are good at something, that's what they want to go do. I think he'd seen her before. I think he'd been watching her before for a while. And I think she knew he was watching him. And I think that he didn't fight that lust. He gave into it. I think I'll just indulge myself a little bit. And I'll indulge myself a little bit more. Because things like this don't normally just happen, boom, like that. You think about it before you've done it. And I think he saw an opportunity. Well, I'll join them later. I'll just stay here. And then he went up and he looked, and she looked. And she, why is she bathing naked on the top of a house? Now, I get that they do things like that, but I don't think that she would do it, because she has to know that she's very visible to certain places in town, right? So I think that she was complicit and he was complicit, and they were playing with this thing, thinking, I can handle this. And he went over and said, hey, guess what? I'm kind of by myself here. Your husband's gone. I got nobody here. What do you think? And she's like, yeah. Because he didn't force her. It's pretty clear. He married her later. They had a good relationship. He did not rape her. She was willing. So I think they just kind of gave in, and it took over. He tried to fight it maybe by himself, but he never asked God. And he actually disobeyed God. So this thing, when we try to fight ourselves, we're going to end up losing. And there's going to be consequences. And we don't think about it. Until we get into it, we don't have any idea. That's why it's so dangerous. We cannot fight these things by ourselves, because they will kill us. And it's not like a building dropping on you. It's like one brick at a time. Okay, it escalates. It snowballs. And it's not what you had any plan to do. But there you go. Here we are. Now I got this. And if we cut it off at the pass, instead of trying to fight, think we can control, think we can handle, say, God, no, I can't. What do I do? Help me. He will. And if we'll let him, then we won't. And then we don't have the consequences. So just a little thought there. We cannot fight a fleshly appetite with fleshly weapons, meaning we can't do it. Because when we try, we're going to lose. I just keep that in